I'm Lise Len, and I'm a multidisciplinary artist. What that essentially means is that I integrate drawing, sculpture, video, and 3D animation in my art practice. Early in my career, I was freelancing, doing illustration and design, but I also did 2D animation at the NFB. It is really when I finished my bachelor's in fine arts that I realized that sculpture would be my best way to express myself. But at the time, traditional sculpture involved, or the approach itself, involved using heavy materials and machinery, plus having a large studio with complex tools. And that did not correspond to my philosophy of spontaneity and simplicity. Choosing my own materials was probably the answer. And it came to me in a flash, the golf ball. When I was 4 or 5 years old, someone cut a golf ball in two, and I was impressed to see that, it was made of elastic bands. Of course, now golf ball technology has improved considerably, but it did serve to choose elastic bands for the playfulness they imply. The next question was, of course, how could I combine them with something else to reach people in a meaningful way? In the 80s, we were becoming conscious of the environment. Old newspapers were lying around everywhere. Plus, they cost nothing. So I started collecting my own and continued for a period of 7 years. I first tied them in little bundles, but I really felt something was still missing. What if I gave them a skin? I experimented with different floor varnishes, and that gave them the organic look that I really wanted. I also noticed that crumbled newspapers could help improvisation and imagination because of their unorganized state. So I continued to make different shapes, but then came the trees when I elongated the forms in such a way as to evoke tree trunks. For this, though, I had to invent my own method of constructing them. And I did that sitting on the floor. And at the same time, I was able to explore how the body itself can be the best tool to create artwork. And mine was an urban forest of paper trees that symbolically returned paper to the forest. I made 300 trees by myself. And so I was recycling all the newspapers I collected. But of course, this was not enough. That's when I decided to include 400 persons in my work. They would come to my studio, and altogether we have recycled around 700 weekend newspapers. The final exhibition at the Forest in 1988 was meant to show, in the end, that art can be a good way to raise consciousness for the environment. I also reached out to schools for students to bring their own newspapers and produce their own forest in their school while learning a new way to make sculpture. All in all, I really feel it is the golf ball that allowed me to start my sculpture practice, but more importantly, being open to experimentation, to improvisation, and even surprises. Being flexible and have goals is how I pushed my art practice and got out of my comfort zone.